Senator Darline Graham is officially running for a full term to replace her late brother, Lindsey Graham, in Congress. Graham was sworn in last week, you may remember, to serve the remainder of her brother's time in office. That followed his sudden death on July 11th. But she announced on Fox News yesterday she's seeking more than just an interim role.
I'm in. I can't see it any other way. I just can't. I've thought and I've prayed, and he's worked so hard for so long. I can't just let that die. I've got to step in and carry on his legacy.
So what might this mean? CBS News political director Fin Gómez joins us from our D.C. bureau to discuss this. Fin, good morning to you. So let's look at the calendar here. The special Republican primary to replace Lindsey Graham is just 3 weeks away. Does his sister now become the front runner, and what exactly are her qualifications?
You know, I think, Errol, she certainly has the momentum and the endorsement of President Trump, of course, which is a big one. Also, the encouragement of Senator Tim Scott, the head of the Senate Republicans' campaign arm of the NRSC. And her entry dramatically reshapes the race after a few days of anticipation, waiting to whether she would jump in or not. But she already has the advantage of having her name ID. Her brother, had served in the Senate for a long time. So his name is well known throughout the state. That's important in a short time of campaigning. But, you know, after being appointed to finish her brother's term, she's now been elevated. And I think she does have that momentum. And she's also really running on carrying forward Lindsey Graham's legacy. She's also expected to have strong support for much of the Republican establishment. Of course, as mentioned, President Trump has encouraged her to run and endorsed her almost immediately in that post early on. And with Nancy Mace out, the big question now, Errol, is whether the other high-profile Republicans like Congressman Russell Fry or Congressman Ralph Norman get momentum from base conservatives for their senatorial bids. But as it stands today, Errol, she enters the race as the candidate to beat.
And let's jump, Fin, to today's primaries in Arizona. Sure. What races are you watching there in the Southwest?
I'm watching a few, Errol, and Arizona is always interesting because it's really a purple state and a perennial battleground state every cycle. But the marquee race today for me is that Republican primary for governor. Congressman Andy Biggs, who has President Trump's endorsement, is facing fellow Congressman David Schweikert, who's been running on the premise that he can appeal to more than just the base. And he's saying that the candidate has to appeal to independents, to suburban voters, if they want to win and take on and win against Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs, who is considered one of the most vulnerable Democrats on the midterm landscape this year. But it's expected to be one of the nation's premier gubernatorial battles. And of course, also what we're watching here is Arizona's first congressional district, an open house seat that's expected to be one of the most competitive races in the country, a true toss-up, and could help determine which party controls the House next year. Errol.
All right, that still seems to be an open question. All right, Fin Gómez with the latest for us. Fin, thank you.
Thanks, Errol.